Namaskar, Acharya ji.
Yes.
Acharya ji, the question which I had is basically, as a person, while making a decision, sometimes we go ahead with our gut feeling. Some people make a calculated thing, they read the literature or something and find the references and then take a decision. But I suppose both the part of that decision making is important, either decision making by guts or by literature and support. So, what should be the right balance, or is there any such thing as what is the right balance so that the life becomes more easier in decision making and we can have maybe happier and prosperous life?
Let's say you're switching jobs. No? You have applied to another place, and you have 2 or 3 options. No? And you have to decide which one to pick. One way is to Google career prospects in A versus B versus C. This is what you call as taking advice, right? You could ask the same question: how are my prospects in A versus B versus C, to some old friend of yours who has been through the experience, or somebody who knows, and this is the question you ask: how will I fare at these places? Or, as you said, your alternative is to go by your own gut feel. In either case, how will it help if you are not asking the right question? Are you getting it? Are you even asking the right question? The answer will depend on the question. If you will ask career prospect in A versus B versus C, that's exactly what you will come to know, what your career prospects there are. But life is more than your career. Your career is a means towards something very, very important. Career is important not because career is the end, but because career is a means to something very important. That's what makes career so important. That's what makes me keep saying that you must be very cautious about your work. Not because work is important in itself. Not because you must be very careful about how many promotions you are getting or what's the kind of salary increment you get. No. But because if you do not work rightly, life will go waste. Now, is that the question you are asking when you are switching jobs? What's the quality of life here? What's this place going to do to my mind? What are the compromises this place will thrust upon me? So these questions are important, and if you don't ask these questions, irrespective of whether you go by your gut feel or by others' advices, you will get just the wrong answers. No? I want to commit suicide. I am looking for some poison. Right? I don't know where the pharmacy is. My gut feel is the pharmacy is on the left. I Google to find out where all the pharmacies are in my neighborhood. I also call up my best friends to ask where the pharmacies are. And my question is, where is the nearest pharmacy? And my question is, where is poison available for the cheapest? And Amazon comes and tells me there is a big discount on exotic poisons. But am I even asking the right question? Is it about where the pharmacy is located? Is it about where I would get the most economical poison? Or should the right question be, is life worth living? But that question is never answered because it is never asked. Google will tell you only what you enter in the search box. People will advise you only what you ask them. There's hardly a person who can go beyond his brief and expand the scope of the answer beyond the question. Most of your advisors won't do that. Their answers will be in the same dimension as the question. It requires somebody very, very loving and risk-taking to give you an answer you never asked for. You see, even when we seek advices, we actually limit the scope of the advice. We tell the other person, we want the answer in yes or no. We want the answer only about this topic. I want the answer only in my context, my own framework. What if the context itself is wrong? What if the framework itself is of ignorance? No answer will be then good enough. All answers will just lead to your eventual demise. So learn to ask the right questions. Why am I going for this? Why am I dropping this? Why am I picking this? That would seem very taxing to begin with, because we are accustomed to unconscious behavior. In unconscious behavior, we just go by our impulses, and the mind has developed that habit. Consciousness appears like a burden. Asking questions appears like a put-off. You just were about to plunge into pleasure of some kind, and suddenly you are reminded to ask a question. And the question is a put-off, because now you cannot dive into pleasure as you probably wanted to just a minute back. But these questions are important because your life is important. Career too is important only because life is important, no? If you are already dead, would you want a career? No? You can have a life without career, but you cannot have a career if you are dead. So it's obvious which of these is more important. Spirituality is not about having no career and running away to the jungle. Spirituality is about having the right career. Gautam Buddha himself was a startup founder, a manager, a leader, an entrepreneur, a statesman, an evangelist, all rolled into one, no? Or did he have no career? He had a great career. He founded a huge Sangh, an organization. So the career is there. The question is, what kind of career you are choosing? Is there alignment between your deep inner need and your outer occupation? Your outer occupation has to be aligned to your inner need. Is there an alignment? And if there is no alignment, what are you doing in life? Gut feel, you talked of, that gut feel is a very conditioned thing. So, gut feel can be right, gut feel can be wrong, it can help you, it can delude you. Gut feel just comes from the accumulation of your past experiences. It has some value, obviously, but it is not something you can just rely on. You have to rely on the right questions. And those who have a stake in keeping you in bondage will not encourage you to ask the right questions. The HR person interviewing you will not want you to ask uncomfortable questions, right? You ask uncomfortable questions, you drop the offer. She does not want that. But you must know what is important to you. Once you are dead, you won't be checking in, right? Once you are dead, you won't be reporting for work. And there is only one life that you have. Be very careful.
My question here is that if where I am participant in the life, I am making some decisions, and all these knowledge which I read through the book and really not coming out there to rescue me from that situation to make that decision, a wise decision there. So is it really worth making too much of effort in reading somebody else's life, reading somebody else's instances, when it comes to my need, doesn't come to rescue me? So do I need to really refine my own thoughts and then just practice work on myself and then just be good with it?
See, if you really love yourself and you want to be rescued, then you will be honest with the wise advice you have received from some place. No advice can come to rescue you if you have first of all never bothered to commit yourself to it. It's like this. I have a gun, right? Some well-wisher gave it to me. But whenever thieves and robbers attack my house, I find that the gun is of no use. So I end up running away, or I end up yelling from the rooftop, or I end up calling up the police. So the question is it even worth it to have a gun? Sir, somebody gifted the gun to you, but you will have to learn to fire it. And you are saying, oh, the gun is useless because it is not coming to my rescue. Have you ever committed yourself to practicing the gun? Books and videos and YouTube and sage counsel will be of no help if the intention to practice it and bring it in your life is missing. Where is that intention? Knowledge is not a physical pill. Physical pills can work even in your ignorance and even without your participation. For example, you have taken the vaccine shot. You do not exactly know how it works, but it works for you. We start thinking that knowledge is like a vaccine shot. Even if we do not really participate in the inner process, it will still work. No. Vaccine will work. You do not need to participate inwardly. Vaccine will do what it does. But knowledge cannot work like this. For knowledge to work, there has to be complete participation from your side. Otherwise, knowledge is a passive thing. It will just sit. In fact, it will sit like a burden. Do you even intend to practice that knowledge? Now you have had knowledge and the knowledge said, reduce your dependencies. Now knowledge cannot reduce your dependencies for you. You have to do it. Have you done that? Have you done that? Because you see, you have to pay the price. Knowledge cannot pay the price on your behalf. And any kind of inner improvement involves paying a steep price. Learning to wield a gun, to fire a gun involves paying a price. You have to commit your time, energy, resources, maybe hire a trainer. You have to pay the price. Have you paid the price? And if you have not paid the price, how will anything help you? Instead, what do we do? Now let me tell you. Go back to your question. You said knowledge is very useful when advising others. That's what you use your knowledge for. You don't want knowledge so that your own life improves. You want knowledge so that you may have bragging rights, so that you may appear wise in front of others. And if that's the purpose you want to put knowledge to, that's what you'll get from knowledge. Some little bit of popularity you will get. In very, very insignificant situations, you will come to be known as a wise man. Oh, he has so much of knowledge. But when life will really throw the gauntlet at you, when the push will come to the shove, you will have nothing to show. Because that knowledge was never meant to be a real thing in your life. That knowledge was only meant to be an ornament to display to others. And then you can display it to others and get some, little bit of satisfaction. But then that's all that you wanted in the first place, no? A little bit of satisfaction by displaying your knowledge. Knowledge is not something to boast of. Knowledge is not something that can turn you into a preacher. One seeks knowledge because one realizes that one is in bondages, and knowledge liberates. Knowledge is not a thing of the head. It is not meant to be stored just here. Knowledge must flow in your veins. Knowledge must reflect in your breath. Knowledge must show up in every little decision you take in your life. Knowledge must be the center you operate from. Knowledge is not a thing that ego is given to wield. I remain the same person, but now I have knowledge. So what do I use my knowledge for? For the same things that the ego anyway likes. The ego likes popularity, I use knowledge for popularity. The ego likes to feel self-secure, I use knowledge to feel self-secure. No. Knowledge is not meant to augment the ego. Knowledge is meant to supplant the ego. There's a great difference there. Knowledge that does not liberate you of the ego, knowledge that does not defeat the ego, knowledge that does not transform and sublimate the ego, is just another plaything. And you are not alone in this situation. There have been thousands, probably millions of people, very, very knowledgeable. But that knowledge did very little to displace their egoistic center. They remained who they were. Therefore, what has happened over the ages is that knowledge itself has gotten a bad name. People say, oh, he is just knowledgeable, Gyani. The word Gyani itself has become some kind of a pejorative. When you say, oh, he is being a Gyani, you mean he is actually being someone who doesn't mean what he says, who's just full of words and practices none of what he tells others. So being called Gyani is no praise in any sense. But actually, Gyani must be the biggest compliment one can ever receive. But Gyan is a compliment only when Gyan becomes your center, your life. Do not use Gyan as just information. Leave it.
I request Rastogi sir to please address.
Namaskar, sir. Whenever I listen to you, my information, I get more confused. Sometimes I get clarity, sometimes I get more confused. But really, hats off to you, sir. At least for me, you had been a guide, mentor, guru, and I'm sure that we all Beaconites will also realize the life in the true context by your saying or whatever clarity you have given. And all of us pray that God bless us and you also bless us so that we come to the right objective of the life and we start our journey maybe on the first gear of our car in the right direction. Thanks to Thanks to you and entire team of Acharya Prashant Foundation. Namaskar. Thank you. Thanks.